Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Vox Vomitus, which just happens to be our third Vox-A-Versary. We're toddlers now.
We are toddlers.
We're toddlers. Our show's a toddler, which explains a lot.
Uh-huh.
I am your host, Jennifer Ann Gordon, the author of the Kindle Award-winning novel, Beautiful, Frightening, and Silent, as well as Pretty Ugly, the Hotel series, and the soon-to-be-released on August 1st, The Japanese Box and Other Stories. Joining me today, as always, and for the past 3 years, is my Vox Vomitus vixen, Allison Martine, author of The Bourbon Books, which includes Dibs since September, Move on Melinda, which is on sale on Amazon right now, and Climb the Salmon Ladder. And Move on Melinda is the spiciest of your bourbon books, correct?
The last two are both pretty spicy. Okay. So I said it was the spiciest of the three. And at the time that was true because I hadn't written the fourth one.
Yeah. And I feel like it has the spiciest drink on the cover because it's tequila.
It is tequila, and it definitely has the spiciest main character because most people just want to smack Melinda. So there's that.
But sometimes a little butt smacking is fine. Is there any of that in your book?
I don't
Spoilers.
Remember. I don't think so. I don't remember putting any butt smacking in there, but and within like the first minute and a half, we're talking about butt smacking. Welcome to the show, everyone.
Welcome to our fancy literary podcast.
Which means word vomit. So there you go.
Word vomit. So thank you, everybody who is tuning in live right now, watching the replay, listening to us, or has tuned in the past 3 years. People who have been guests. We love and thank you all. I feel like if I do this, I'm going to get lipstick all over my hands. Then I'm going to touch my face, and then I'm going to look like I have chicken pox.
Oh, my 12-year-old.
So I'm just going to mime it.
With a line here. I'm like, are you scratched? It was hot sauce.
Oh, awesome.
It was almost like a May Cobb.
I was going to say that's a May Cobb thing. When she got I know last time May was a guest here, she got hot sauce in her eye, and it was the most Texas moment that has ever happened on our show.
Very true.
And I feel like she deserves a special award for that.
Yes.
Also, just I want to shout out to a bunch of people right now who had book releases yesterday. I'm going to forget people. So May Cobb with A Likeable Woman. Meghan Collins, Thicker Than Water. Carol Goodman.
Bones of the Story.
Bones of the Story. Thank you. Philip Fracassi with his re-release of Boys in the Valley. Paul Tremblay with The Beast You Are.
That's all I knew. In fact, I don't think I even knew Philip's book was being re-released. Paul was the one I was waiting on. Paul's was the one that the Barnes & Noble down at the Spectrum did not have, even though I wandered through the whole store. And my 10-year-old was very patient as I took pictures, and reorganized their store for them. Sorry.
I love that.
Because my local stores were closed, and I'm not happy about that, but they're being
I also rearrange bookstores when I'm there now. I tend to, if I know the author and I'm friends with them, they get the face out slot.
Mm-hmm. I do that.
For sure.
Barnes & Noble's going to ban both of us. Like, they're coming and they're touching things.
I know, they're touching the books. They're moving everything around. So that is awesome. So yes, congratulations to all of our friends of Vox Vomitus on your very popular July 11th release date.
Seriously, I don't know who picked that date in publishing as like the magical date, but everybody did.
Everybody did. And I'm just going to say it made for a very expensive book order for me. Because I'm just like, oh my gosh. And, so I think loyal listeners and watchers know that I am one of those people that buys books in multiple formats because I don't exactly know how I want to read it.
I like listening.
You like listening. I like reading paper, and I also like my Kindle a lot. So I tend to buy like the ebook, or if I get an ebook for free, I'll buy the hard copy.
And see, I love that. Thank you, Elisa. She wishes us a happy third Vox anniversary to the Vox Vixens. It's us. And I'm the same way. And one of the things I do, and okay, Amazon, if you're listening, I don't think they're listening, but if they are, there's a little trick I do. If I get a book for free, especially maybe as a beta or as an ARC, and it is later on Kindle Unlimited, of which I subscribe, I will slip through those pages to give the author page reads. And then also when I put my review on Amazon, and it's verified always, but then it's verified. And they don't know that I got a an art copy because it was from somewhere else, or they don't know if I was a beta reader. So I do that in order to make sure that my review shows up. Because reviews help authors.
Reviews help authors. Yeah, so I do that, especially like when we get things off NetGalley and everything like that.
BoucherCon says, is it BoucherCon or BoucherCon? Says, happy 3-year anniversary. Wonderful.
Hey, BoucherCon. I always say BoucherCon, but I've heard it pronounced both ways, and I am notorious for pronouncing everything the wrong way.
Same.
But hey, BoucherCon. BoucherCon San Diego in September.
I might crash it even though I am not invited. I look close enough to crash, so I'm just like,
everybody's invited. You're a fan of the genre, as people will know when we give out our unofficial Voxies pretty soon.
They are so unofficial. They really should not exist. Thank you, Marie.
Hi, Marie.
Wishes us a happy anniversary. Oh, and she's cheersing us, and I'm drinking kombucha. I don't know.
I am drinking. There were so many people who were like, I'll be there on our Facebook post that I was like, it feels like a party. And then I felt really bad that I was like a bad party host because I have no alcohol, but this is flavored water with maraschino cherries in it.
It's very festive. And honestly,
there's like 9 maraschino cherries in there.
Nobody can have what you have unless they're there in the house. So other than Roman or Tubby, no one actually is getting the drink. So it's not like, hey, Jennifer, did you bring enough for the whole class? No, you can't. You can't give it to people. It doesn't.
I just want our viewers who might be day drinking in their house to not feel so lonely.
And for anybody who's like celebrating sobriety, yeah, that's awesome too.
That is awesome too, because maraschino cherries are amazing.
Well, and the kombucha actually has some natural organic alcohol that just shows up, I guess. But I don't really know how that works. I don't think
it's science.
I don't know. I'm drinking it for the probiotics because for everybody who knows how I was sick most of the year, I'm trying to rebuild my gut biome. So I'm 80% kombucha right now by volume.
It's okay. It's okay. I feel like a lot of our conversations recently in our private conversations have been like, oh, what are you taking for your health? What probiotics are you taking?
We just shake medicine bottles at each other going, oh, which one is that?
Which one is that? Oh my God, this is what I'm doing now so it's been a fun 2023 and end of 2022 health-wise, but it's also been a really fun year book-wise.
That's better, much better. And honestly, I don't feel like I was ever so sick as I was. I want to say there was a time when we had CJ on and I was mostly half asleep, half drugged up while listening to her book. So I was like, look, if some of the things I talk about didn't happen in your book, just tell me because I may have hallucinated them and I apologize. But I was half awake listening to the book. I didn't have to do that this year. So every book we're going to talk about this year,
we were awake for.
I was awake for that.
I'm like,
my ears.
I will say this is a good segue into one of our first categories.
Yes, Regina, you did step into a digestive health conversation. I'm drinking kombucha. I apologize. We got sidetracked. We're not even 10 minutes in and we're sidetracked. We've
already talked about spankings and gut health. So, I mean, welcome to Vox Vomitus. So I, at the very end of 2022, I had COVID pretty badly and I read a ton of books.
That's right. You had your COVID binge reading, which is better than binge vomiting or anything.
So I read so many books, and one of the books I read while I had COVID, I ended up texting you, Allison, and saying you have to read this right now and we have to get him on the show. And the book was The Ghost Eaters by Clay McLeod Chaplin.
Yes, I loved that one. In fact, I think you told me, and then I didn't immediately get it because that was when my cloud library was not cooperating with me, and that's when I had to steal my 10-year-old's book card and be able to access that. So, if the public library system wonders why the 10-year-old is reading such advanced books, I'm the 10-year-old.
Oh my gosh, this is another one of those books that I bought in hardcover. In a bookstore when I went to go see Josh Malerman, another friend of Vox Vomitus, at Gibson's bookstore in Concord, New Hampshire. And I fell totally in love with the cover for the book. The
cover is amazing.
For The Ghost Eaters. So I bought it. I binged it. I made you read it. You loved it. I made my husband buy the audiobook. And then I listened to the audiobook with him.
You did both?
I did both.
That's very, very, very rare.
Yeah. I did both almost back to back.
Well, and Travis Simpson says Malerman is a great guy, and we have to agree, and we would love to have him back soon. I'm halfway through spin a black yarn, because I can only do one story at a time, and then I have to recover before
I'm trying really hard with Spin a Black Yarn to not devour it completely, even though I'm gonna go back and reread the first. I mean, I've read the first 3 and I want to reread them again. And yes, so
fresh before we have them.
Keep them fresh. So yeah, Josh Malerman's amazing. I'm going to plug myself again. He blurbed my book, The Japanese Box, which comes out on August 1st.
August 1st. And if you haven't seen the cover, then you clearly aren't following either of us on social media, because we're both kind of obnoxious right now. It is beautiful. Dawn Noble did the cover. Is that right? Is it Noble or Nobel? I want to make my prize. Just Noble. All right.
Noble. It's Noble. Yeah.
Gorgeous
Noble
cover. Josh Malerman's blurb is on the front. It's amazing. I have read some, but not all of them yet. I have to wait for my physical copy, but I hear the author might send me a PDF. Maybe.
I am definitely going to do that.
There's one story in there that you've talked about for a while, and
it is my take on Lithium Moon. It's my take on a werewolf story.
I want that one so bad, and
I mean, you might not once you're reading it. Once you're reading it, you're going to be like, this is not what I expected from a werewolf story.
Yeah, well, and that's why I want it, because I don't really need another regular werewolf story. Yes. I mean, I wrote a werewolf story years ago about how my dog was a werewolf that got stuck, but we just usually called her the crazy looking dog because she had these bug eyes and stuff. But that's probably not the kind of story you find.
No, not really. So let's thank you, Marie. That cover is everything. So getting back to the Ghost Eaters.
The Ghost Eaters.
Loved it so much. So that is one of our books that is tied for the Voxy of I probably shouldn't be eating this. The Voxy. So
why is that the title? I shouldn't eat this. The Ghost Eaters. What's the other one, Jen?
Oh, it's the Book Eaters.
The Book Eaters. The Book Eaters, and you will see this on my social media later because I haven't had a chance to post it from my earlier attempt to go to Barnes & Noble. Sunyi Dean has an entire table at the Spectrum full of her book because it is amazing. I'm not going to tell the Hugos that they got things wrong by leaving her book out, but they kind of seem to have overlooked it because I think it should have been nominated. Easily one of the most inventive and just engrossing reads. It does not really fit any category other than possibly you shouldn't eat that.
You shouldn't eat that.
You shouldn't eat books. That's not.
But then here's the thing. In that book, The Book Eaters, I really was on board with the people eating the books.
That's fine.
But there were other things being eaten in that book. That is what I'm referring to with you probably shouldn't eat that. Yeah. Just like in the Ghost Eaters, they're mushrooms.
I like mushrooms.
And it's fine to eat mushrooms, but it's not fine to eat all mushrooms.
Some mushrooms are not good for you.
Oh, Dad, I just winked and it was so bad.
Did you wink?
I'm not going to do it again. I did. I know. It was really bad.
Okay, let's do it together. 1, 2, 3. That's their new screenshot. That's what I'm using. You're like, will you please stop with that? But okay, I do love how our categories come up with things that they're not real categories. There are no awards for that one. We were talking beforehand about Sometimes People Die by Simon Stevenson, which we both loved. And there's no category for that because it's not a medical thriller, not exactly. And it's honestly the book, I would call it what you shouldn't have brought with you, Allison, to your checkup, because that's not a good omen.
Yeah, I would have called it just one more reason to not want to go to a doctor.
True. You're like, don't trust hospitals.
Don't trust hospitals.
I had read that before just a regular checkup, and my checkup was fine. I had already read it, and it was done before I was hospitalized for my appendectomy and then resulting C. diff. And I was just like, Simon, this is your fault. He denies any involvement, but I was totally fine. And because now I drink nothing but kombucha, my gut biome's fine.
Oh no, Allison froze. Or am I frozen? It's an existential crisis. Mm-hmm. You're good.
There's nothing else in that category, though, because I don't think anything else fits there. I mean, Something Bad Wrong. That is also something you probably shouldn't read before you go to the doctor, but that's one of our Southern Noir.
That's one of our 2 for best Southern Noir. This one also could have a subcategory of people who are really into the noir and the bar scene.
That's true.
Because we have Something Bad Wrong by Eric Pruitt, which blew my mind. Mm. And he was such a great interview. And I got very intoxicated on another interview with him when I interviewed him and Sean Cosby. Here's that segue. So Sean Cosby's our other Southern Noir winner. Razorblade Tears.
These are my tears. I don't know if that was Razorblade Tears enough. I feel like this is not Razorblade Tears enough, but both of those books, Sean does not need an award for us because he just stacks them.
I mean, he literally wins every award. So.
Yes, so he doesn't have room on his shelf for a Voxy, but
they're imaginary, so
for Sean's book because it's amazing. And he's got a new one out, All the Sinners Bleed. So
which I've already read.
You've already read it. We need to have him back on, and then I need to read it closer so I actually remember any kind of details because my brain.
It is seared in my mind.
Okay, so it's one that I won't forget anyway. Even
you won't forget
little details.
Nope.
Little details.
Oh, maybe the little details. But yeah, so Sean has had a huge year. Razorblade Tears won every award. Mm-hmm. He was on the Tonight Show. He co-wrote a graphic novel with Questlove. Mm-hmm. It's he's just.
He's everywhere.
He's everywhere. He's everywhere. Everywhere.
And I was going to say he's everywhere all at
everything
once.
All at once. I was going to say that too. And I was just like, no.
That's completely different. But both of those were just amazing books with a genre that, again, one of the things I love about the show is finding these new subgenres, but I can't pretend that Southern Noir is new. It's just new to me because I wasn't paying attention to what's going on that half of the country. I'm like, I'm in California. I don't really know. Is SoCal Southern? No, it is not. Totally different. These are like books that reference things like pimento cheese. That's not happening in this area. No.
So if we're doing so those are our two top picks for Southern Noir. But as I said, Noir in the Bar, one of the most well-known hosts of Noir in the Bar in the DC, Virginia area is Ed Amar. And his book,
No Home for Killers?
No Home for Killers, that we're not giving the award for Southern Noir. We're giving that another co-award for...
I shouldn't be rooting for killers.
I shouldn't be rooting for a murderer.
Honestly, covers... Wait a second. That actually covers most of the books on our...
I know. Legitimately, when I wrote down my list of my top books, every single one, I was like, oh, that is a murderer. Because even Razorblade Tears, you're rooting for criminals.
I mean, they're not so bad.
They're not bad. They're lovely.
They're dads. You have to root for dads.
They're dads. Exactly. Come on.
Bad. But yeah, I mean, No Home for Killers, it even says that in the title. And
yeah. Like, you know what you're getting. And he gave us these really great, creepy, like murderer masks.
Freaked my kids out. Yep. Thanks a lot.
So, but you can't not root for a killer that hides in a tree eating the marshmallows from Lucky Charms.
I mean, how endearing
that's just endearing.
Yeah, marshmallows.
If I did that, people would think I was a sad person. If I just climbed in a tree and just like binge ate marshmallows, but
there are things you can't do in New Hampshire, and that's one of them. I'm sure that's illegal.
I'm sure it is.
You can't do that there. But the other one, as far as us cheering for people, Amanda Jayatissa says You're Invited.
Yes.
Okay, that one also would fit with random styles of fiction because that one had all those interview snippets, which I just loved.
Which I love, found fiction-ish types.
Yes, and that one was such a good book, and just I was laughing so hard at her promo campaign that had it in the style of like, "Am I the jerk?" Like, because I am the person.
You can say I'm the asshole. I mean,
ours usually says, "Am I the jerk?" So I think it might depend on which site you get to. Like if you're getting the PG-13 version.
Oh, on Reddit, it's "Am I the asshole?"
And that makes sense. But yeah, it's like, hey, am I the asshole because I'm gonna go to my best friend's ex-best friend's wedding, marrying my ex-fiance, and just reading that, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be one of those popcorn books. But it was so much deeper than popcorn. Like I was expecting a book up here, but with some darkness, and it was way darker and way more thrilling than I had any. And of course, I shouldn't have been surprised with My Sweet Girl, Amanda.
I was going to say, because I mean, I think My Sweet Girl won a Voxy last year, but I can't remember the character. Yeah. The award categories that we gave.
I think it was probably Psychopaths we were rooting for.
It was Psychopaths we were rooting for.
That's kind of the thing we do. It's just the thing. Did we already mention A Child Alone with Strangers, or do we have a category of titles that are just way too long? And I'm going to ask Philip to shorten his titles to fit in tweets better. And Jennifer, that goes double for you. Because you have super long titles, which is why we just say the hotel series. Because when I have to type it, it's like,
From Daylight to Madness.
When the Sleeping Giants
book one. When the Sleeping Giants talk. I would just say, we have not had him on the show yet, but I would love to have Eric LaRocca because his titles are like entire short stories. And I love them.
I saw one of his. I have to check my phone because I saw one of his in the Barnes and Noble section today, and it was next to something else. So I think I took a picture of both of them, and I'm going, I don't know him yet. I have like a separate page.
His parents live in New Hampshire, I think.
So if you show up with a fruit basket and maybe some muffins for his mom, it's like, can your son come out and play? That won't be totally creepy.
That won't be totally creepy. It'll just be like mildly creepy.
A little bit. And if anybody's going, why are so many of your books so dark? Well, okay, so here's the thing. We do read a lot of books that both of us like because Jennifer won't read romance unless I put
unless you make
her head, but I bribe her and or threaten.
And I do enjoy every book that you have recommended romance wise. I enjoy.
I will not steer you wrong, but that's why. So I do a separate show. So we are celebrating 3 years of Vox Vomitus, and I'm about 2 years of doing To the Moon Allison. And since I don't do a separate show for that, I would love to do shout outs to some of the favorites we've had. And I will say best books that I could not make Jennifer read.
Not saying I didn't want to, but
these are ones that appeal to a different crowd, perhaps.
Yes.
And some of you may be like, but those are the books I love. So
exactly.
One of the best rom-coms, and for me, like that is the thing that I've been trying to expand and read more rom-coms because technically I kind of write them, but I kind of don't because someone explained to me that my books are romance with humor. And I'm like, isn't that a rom-com? And they're like, no, because apparently rom-coms require more of like the tropes and a certain beat structure that when I was writing, I'm like, I don't know what that is. And one of the ones, and I do think you would love, Hate, and Clickbait by Liz
I love that name.
Because isn't that an amazing title?
I remember when you were reading that, and I watched the show too, obviously, and I was like, I kind of want to read that.
It's enemies to lovers, and it's like rivals to lovers, and it's also you hate both of the main characters. It's a male-male romance, and you seriously, I know I saw some people who DNF'd it because they hated both of the main characters, and those are the books I like. Like I really don't want to like any of the characters. But they grow on you is the thing.
I want to love them. I don't want to like them.
There is character development, but they both start off with you wanting to knock their heads together and telling them to just grow up and knock it off and just get their heads out of their asses. But that's okay. But it was really enjoyable. So for people who are like, I do like every so often a good rom-com, that is one to pick up. And then there are the books that are way too fantasy or sci-fi or whatever, and they're not very grounded for Jennifer. And one of them literally isn't grounded, and that's Critic Aroused, Surviving Sky. I mean, literally, there's an island in the air floating around. So talk about not grounded. It's just floating around. And that one was amazing. And talk about world building. If people are looking for a book that does phenomenal world building, go grab that one. And Jen, we had James Rollins on when he was being when he was talking about an action series. I have him on for his ridiculously intense fantasy series. So I had him on.
I feel like those are too smart for me.
They're not too smart for you. However, you do have to
pay attention.
At the beginning. Yeah, you have to pay attention. And those are also
take notes.
They have pictures in them.
Oh.
They have pictures of animals in them. So I was kind of bummed because the first one I had a physical copy and the second one I listened to. And I didn't get to see the pictures of the creatures. So I had to use my imagination and then draw them myself. And I don't think I was accurate.
I'll pretty much read anything that has pictures of animals or creatures in it.
There are meerkats. Don't you want a meerkat?
I do.
I want bats. So but this year we had Cradle of Ice, and that was super great. And I can't wait for the third one to come out. And I think he's doing like boom, boom, boom. So I think I'll get the next one probably springtime, late winter of 2024. Nice. So I'm like, gimme. And then, okay, I'm going to go back to books like, why was this not on the Hugos? Because I'm still mad about Cindy not being on the Hugos because no one consulted me for the Hugos, apparently. And it's possible that Rika Aoki's book may have been published too early. So it's possible it was up last year because I know it was up for a Nebula. And I don't remember whether it won or not. But her book, Light from Uncommon Stars, is just absolutely amazing. Has great trans rep. It has deals with demons and violins and also a donut shop in LA. So, I mean, I don't know how anybody makes sense of any of that, but somehow she did. And it was just gorgeous. And it's one of those that if you haven't heard of it, go ahead and please go pick that one up. Look for the koi on the front. It's just gorgeous. But the one that actually is on the list from Goodreads, like these were eligible. And then I go back going, why is this not on the list? Please explain yourself, Hugo Committee, is Mary McMinn's Book of Gothel. And most people go, Gothel, isn't that Rapunzel? Because all of us now, okay, everybody who has a kid and had to see Tangled a million times, the mother Gothel is.
Never seen it.
You don't have to see it because you don't have children making you see, like, exactly.
Frozen 1,000 times.
Have you seen Frozen 1,000 times?
No.
I have.
I know.
You don't need to see 1,000 times. It's fine. But Book of Gothel is amazing. And if you're looking for a fairy tale, that's not it. It's a story of a young woman growing up in really early Germany and what happens to her when she has to kind of fend for herself and all the things happening. And there are, what would you call a magical garden? And I don't mean magical as in like magic, but a little bit magic. Kind of, there's probably a word for it, but I can't think of it right now.
Probably is.
But like things where you're making tinctures and not quite potions, but elixirs.
Yeah. So like an apothecary's garden.
Kind of apothecary's garden, but I feel like there's even another word. So if anybody's watching this and is going, Allison, why don't you know this word? I probably
just look it up, people. Look it up on YouTube.
You don't have to tell me. But
I would like to have one of those gardens. We have this island in our yard, and we've been like contemplating making like a poison garden.
You would, wouldn't you? You're like, look at me growing all the things that will kill the native wildlife if they eat it. Don't do that. You have to.
No, not necessarily, but.
Don't let Tubby eat it. You worry about him getting into stuff. You can't have a poison.
Oh no, no, this garden is like it literally is like an island, like on like this little hill in the middle of our driveway. So he doesn't.
So you're saying Tubby cannot get to this thing?
No, he cannot get to it.
He's like,
no.
Ooh, challenge.
He's never anywhere near it. We don't like him to go in the grass in our yard because it's overrun with ticks.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, my 7-year-old goes outside and he doesn't come back with ticks, but he comes back with burrs all over his feet.
Oh, yikes.
Because he comes outside without his shoes and just his socks. Okay, so she's saying, Regina is saying, Witch's Garden. Are you saying herbarary? I can't even say herbarary. That sounds like I've got stuff on my herbarary.
Would it be herbarary?
It might be herbarary instead of, is it herbs or herbs?
It's herbs if you're in like the UK.
Okay.
And it's herbs if you're in the United States. Herbarary.
Harry. You say it like that. We've got a little bit of a
Herbarary. And then it sounds like Burberry. What accent are we doing?
I don't think it's anything.
I think it was like country club cartoon.
It's bad, whatever it is.
It was really bad.
Okay, so I recently found out that it's one of my agency siblings, so it would make your agency cousin, has worked on both Paw Patrol and Peppa Pig. So shout out to Betty on that. And I'm like, thank you. And apparently they pushed to not, when they brought it over to America, lose the UK accents and you still have UK voices. I'm like, thank you. This is why my children sound British.
Love it. So I don't know if you have any other books on your list. I have one more shout out to do.
I have one more shout out too, but it's a shout out to a bunch of people because it's a collection.
Yes. Okay. So I'll do mine and then we'll do yours because that was going to be on my list too. But I want to do yours after because we're having the editor for that book back on our show in a couple weeks. So, and I don't know again what category this would be because this could also be it could also be, oops, I think I'm rooting for a killer. But I'm going to go with best use of a gothic house.
Yes.
And the worst romance quote. I'm not even gonna say romance. Worst love story, and by worst I mean like really interesting and
worst
gross.
As in one you don't want to live through.
One you don't want to live through.
One you want to read.
Yeah. So it's The Ingenue by Rachel Kapelke Dale, and I loved her book The Ballerinas. That was one of my COVID reads, and then I bought this one immediately because I was just like, gimme.
Well, and I'll tell you, The Ballerinas, I haven't read that one yet, and I need to. And it's one of those things where I wanted to, and then I found a book on Cloud Library that looks similar, and I told you about it, and then I read it, and it was kind of a letdown. So I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. But I was just like, but it has such a pretty cover and it had a cool title and it sounded really cool. And then, meh.
Yeah. Well, I will say The Ballerinas does not disappoint. Cool. And I found Rachel Kopelky-Dale because Meghan Collins was talking about her on Instagram and talking about, yes.
She wasn't talking about serial killers or sewing mouth shut?
No. I mean, this was a while ago.
Or Taylor Swift, because usually Megan's talking about one of those two things.
Or the dog, or her dog. No, but this was a while ago. It was one of her like bookish posts because she does like monthly reviews and she's so supportive of other authors. And I love that. But that is how I got introduced to The Ballerinas and then in turn The Ingenue. And if you like books that are, you know, dual timeline about and just like family drama and
there's definitely some family drama and definitely sometimes where you're like, why are people? Because I would say, why are men? But there were also some women doing things where
there's a lot of like, why is your mom like that? Yeah. So if you've ever had a tricky relationship with your mom or a bad relationship, or you are hoping to inherit your family home, this book has something for everybody. And especially like, and it also has fairy tales written for little feminists.
That's the other part is we're like, when are you going to release that book? And she's like, well, don't go release that book. You already have kind of the punchlines of each one or the morals of each of the stories. I don't think it would take too much to do than world building around them. Cause I mean, it's a great concept and I'd let my kids read them. I got little feminists.
All right. So the other book on your list, which also would have been on my list, but then we had to divvy up some things.
Well, this is one, it doesn't fit anything because it's
also it's a collection.
Which I love collections. And I'll just say this. I feel like collections and especially short story collections are the unsung heroes of the literary world. Because first off, I love them in the fact that you can explore a concept that maybe doesn't sustain a whole novel. And there are a lot of really cool concepts that just don't quite sustain a whole novel. And I love being able to explore things like that. And I love collections by different authors because you get to have intros to people and discover new people that you maybe wouldn't have otherwise picked up. And we read Other Terrors, which had some people we already knew and were like, yes, we get to read by these authors we know. And I'm following some of the ones that I hadn't heard of and have read other works by them. But it was Rena Mason and Vince. I'm going to mess up Vince's last name. Liaguno?
Let's go with Liaguno.
That or I'm going to call
him
well, yeah, otherwise I'm going to just call him linguine, and that is Italian racist, also pasta. But I ended up that's okay. Yesterday I was like trying to go with my daughter to the store, and my brain was just short circuiting, and I knew we needed pico de gallo, and I'm like, Bronwyn, we need Cinco de Mayo, and she just looks at me and she goes, Mom, we already had Cinco. I'm at pico de gallo. They both have 3 words. I didn't mean to be racist. I'm just like, my brain does not remember the name for salsa, and yes, I needed that, and clearly I'm nothing up here sometimes, but we got what we needed and we got that.
I know I'm turning my back on you, but
are you getting Other Terrors? Do you have it back there?
I do, but I can't reach it. I'm actually getting, so Vince is going to be back on our show August 2nd. And Unspeakable Horror 3, which is
wait for that
LGBTQ horror anthology that Vince edited. So we're so excited. I just got this.
It's very shiny.
Dark
Rainbow Rising. I love
Dark Rainbow Rising. And
rainbows.
I love queer horror so much. I mean, obviously that's
again, read the Japanese box. Do many states have probably already banned the book? I bet a lot. Did you hear about the Little Free Libraries in Florida? Because this is amazing. So shout out to the Little Free Libraries Association. And I had to explain to my husband yesterday what one was. I'm like, you haven't seen them around town. Where have you been? You may not have them where you live, Jen, because you guys are also spread out. I don't even know where you'd find them because you're so.
We don't have them. We don't have too many like where I live, particularly in my town, because it's like the driveways are really far apart.
Go into the deep dark woods and find one.
Yeah, where I stay in Concord, New Hampshire, the neighborhood I stay in, when I go to work, like, because people are like, "What is she talking about?" I work a couple days a week, not near where I live, so I stay someplace else. But the neighborhood is chock filled with little free libraries.
Well, I love that, and apparently the Little Free Library Association is encouraging Floridians to stock all the books that they aren't allowed to have in any normal place now, thanks to Florida's weird and draconian backwards ass laws
Yep.
in the little free libraries, which I think is an amazing idea. And I think that's really awesome. And I love the little free libraries. And, you know, I love the idea of like, hey, here's some books, and take a book, leave a book. And I've been told, because one of my things coming up in that I'm happy about that hasn't happened yet is I'm getting new covers for my books, but I have a bunch left over because I went to a signing event that wasn't as well attended as I thought, and I thought I would do more, and I haven't done more, and now I'm going to be getting new covers. I'm like, what am I going to do with all these? And people are like, you can just drive around and put them in all the libraries.
That's what I have a ton of my my book Pretty Ugly also changed covers, and I have a ton of the old cover.
What do you do?
Like, yeah, just gonna stick them in every little free library in that neighborhood.
Well, and I'm sure I'll keep mine for some signings and stuff. And I am excited about being able.
And now they're collector's editions. They'll be
collector's editions, like the Upside Down Airplane. But
exactly.
But the covers I'm hoping will be amazing. They will not be done by the amazing Dawn Noble, because that is not the right aesthetic for.
No, probably not.
But we love collections, and of the stories I've read at the Japanese box, I already love them. So I'm excited to get to read more of those. And did you say when it comes out? It comes out August 1st?
It comes August 1st. It is available for pre-sale now in paperback through Gibson's Indie Bookstore in Concord, New Hampshire. They ship everywhere, or Barnes & Noble, or Amazon, or any place that you buy paperbacks. But I'm always going to plug my local bookstore first.
Plug your local one. And I will say I won't say talked into, it was the right business decision to make, to get the Barnes & Noble membership card when I was buying too many things at one point. And that was the first time I was trying to order something online through them when I was buying your book, because I usually just walk into the store because it's right there. And they gave me free shipping because I'm a member. And today, when I was helping my 10-year-old spend her gift card from her birthday, I got double points today because it's Prime Day. So apparently everybody's doing special Prime stuff. And I'm like, double points. I don't know what the points mean, but I have double of them.
You have double of them.
Oh, I have twice as many to figure out with the later, but I was going to buy more books there, but none of the new releases that you mentioned, none of them are there yet. So apparently
sometimes it takes a little while.
A little slow on the uptake with getting the new ones, but that meant I did go through the whole store and take pictures of everything and annoy my daughter a lot. It was good because I told her she had to get at least one book with words in it and not just pictures. Like, what? She's 10. I'm not like doing anything ridiculous. I'm not forcing her, because if you haven't been in one of these stores recently, they have books and they have so many other things that she's like, rainbow course, I can pay myself. And I'm just going, can we get you a book? And she did some books, and she got an origami thing, and then also a rainbow corn, and then she's wearing like the tiara from it. I don't
love it.
Giant things where
you'll have to, if it's a rainbow tiara, you'll have to wear it when
it's not rainbow.
Oh,
rainbow corn is like the,
I don't know what that is.
It's the brand. It looks like a giant egg, and there's an animal inside, but this one came with a tiara and a wand and a little bracelet she could make. It kept her occupied for at least 10 minutes, so I was happy. But it wasn't a rainbow tiara, because if it was, I'd be stealing it. I need a rainbow tiara. That's awesome.
I know.
I don't have one.
Well, I'm excited. I know we've had a bit of a hiatus this summer. Allison's going on vacation in a couple weeks. I just got back from vacation. There are things going on.
The world
is going on. But we are back from hiatus. We have a bunch of guests coming up soon, including Vince. We have Kim Taylor Blakemore. We have May Cobb. We don't have dates set, but we are going to be having Carol Goodman, Paul Tremblay, Meghan Collins, Lori Raider Day, and many others. So it's going to be a really exciting year. And I know our friend Josh Malerman has asked to come back. I think he just wants to have another 3-hour interview with us where we drink like an entire bottle of bourbon each. And so we have to clear out a whole Sunday.
He's been binging all of the Twin Peaks stuff. Yeah. So unless he has a new obsession, I'm assuming we're going to be talking about that at some point, which is fine with me.
I know. He messaged me. He's like, when I'm done with Twin Peaks, I have to come back on the show.
And really, that's fine. He can always have our platform for just going crazy. And that's fine. Okay. And Regina wants to say a physic garden. We'll take that. Between now and our next show, maybe we'll come up with a better word for whatever it was I was trying to
liked witch's garden.
A witch's garden. I should
seems like
I have the book over there. I should just go look at the book and see what Mary called it. Or you
can put it in
the Mary, what was it?
when we post our screenshots.
And before we go, I want to say all the authors we have been so fortunate to have such amazing authors, and most of them seem to want to come back, which is amazing. And I love that. And they're all welcome back. And we would love to have a karaoke or sleepover. I don't know. But there are certain authors, some of which I just don't know how to get a hold of because like their social media seems to be a closed loop where they go, I don't talk to anybody ever, and they might actually be a figment of my imagination. And others are just really, really big and really, really busy and don't have time to mess with us. But if there are any authors watching this going, I would like to be on your show, reach out. We probably want you on your show. We like that. And if Heron Ennis ever finds that herself listening to this or their self, because I'm not entirely sure what pronouns Heron uses, but Heron wrote Leech, which is again stuck to me, no pun intended with Leech, and that one also should have been on the Hugos. And again, nobody asked me, but I tried stalking them on Facebook. I tried stalking them on Twitter. My stalking is not very good because I couldn't find even a place to find out who reps them, to say, anybody know how to get a hold of this amazing author so we can go.
Yeah, because you've been talking about that book for a while, and I was just like, okay, your job is to stalk them. I'm stalking Megan Abbott.
Megan knows we're stalking her.
Megan knows we're being, but we're very friendly stalking her.
And N.K. Jemisin, I am so in love with The City We Became, and then this year's The World We Make, and that one also should have been the Hugos, and I know she does not have time to talk to me, but if she ever does, I would love for her to come on this show, and technically that's way more sci-fi speculative, so it should come on To the Moon Allison, but
she could do a double-decker.
And honestly, Jennifer,
like a double feature, so it's like seeing Barbie and Oppenheimer on the same day.
Did you not go together?
They do, because it's Barbieheimer, and both of those movies open on the same day. And Roman and I are honestly considering spending like 6 hours in a movie theater. We haven't been in a movie theater since before COVID, and I feel like these are the two that I've got to see.
What a way to go back!
I don't know. So on that note, on Barbieheimer note, thank you everybody for tuning in for the past 3 years. Three. I can't believe I had the coordination to do that.
You're a dancer.
I know, but not with my hands.
Oh, you don't dance with your hands?
I mean, I do a lot of like this stuff, but
I don't do any of that. I can sometimes type. That's about it. Kitten typing. That's all I got.
All right. Again, thank you everybody. If you are watching this on YouTube, on the replay or anything, subscribe.
We're on there live. So if you're seeing this live,
so if you're seeing this, subscribe. Or leave us a rating wherever you're listening to your podcasts.
Oh, that reminds me. So yesterday I had my agency sister, Emma Corey, on with her book, The Sword and Shield, and she has a giveaway. And if you're like, hey, you know what? I want book merch. Go on that video and comment on that video, and you might get yourself a book or some stickers.
Hey, I'm like, now I might comment on that. I don't think I'm not eligible.
The person is not eligible as me because she sent me one for me. She's like, the one I signed is for you, and the other one is for giveaways. So by all means, there's nothing saying you can't have the other book if nobody else is commenting, but let's get some other people commenting and saying, yeah, I want that book.
Yeah. So head to our YouTube. It's called Vox Vomitus Podcast. It's pretty easy to find.
Just type in Vox Vomitus. The channel's there. Hit subscribe. That's it. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything. Just
and you get the joy of us on an almost weekly basis. On that note, buy the Japanese box and other stories. Pre-order it now. August 1st. Pre-orders are really helpful. And that's it. We will see you all next week.
Happy Vox.